Hey guys, welcome back to Dispersed Church. So glad you are still with us, joining us for a new series. Yeah, I'm Kara.
And I'm Luke. And we're just here having a great time.
Yes. What are we talking about today, Luke?
Today, we are talking about the soul. So souls, we use that word a lot, I think. Well, Christians do. But it's not an uncommon word. I keep hitting my microphone.
That's okay.
In culture, I need to stop talking with my hands. But we're going to talk about souls.
Yes.
So
you want to know what I just think of when I hear souls? I go to Little Mermaid when Ursula's like, "Poor unfortunate souls." That's what I think of.
And you
Now
just
you know.
all unfollowed us
Yeah.
right then and there. I promise I will not sing Little Mermaid songs again.
Yes.
Um,
But yeah, that's what I think of.
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
So we talk about souls a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's not an uncommon word or concept, but I want to talk about the Christian conception of what
Yeah.
it is. So I think a lot of times when we think about a soul, we think it's something we have. So it's this part of us. It's spiritual, and then our body is something else. We tend to want to divide them apart. But in the Christian conception, your soul is your whole self, is who you are. So that's your body as a part of that, your mind, your emotions, your heart, your spirit. All of that is encompassed in this Christian conception of soul. So what you do to and in your body has an impact on your spiritual state.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. What you do spiritually has an impact on your body. So there were a group of Christians a while ago who started using this language of spiritual formation. And one of them was Dallas Willard. And so he would say that all of us at all times are being spiritually formed. So everything around you is actually shaping who you are spiritually.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not, you are being spiritually formed.
Yeah. I think there's a statistic or something. You become the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So whoever you hang out with, think of their best qualities and maybe their not so best qualities. When you spend time around those people, that's who you become.
Yeah.
And you pick up little things from them, little mannerisms. It could be a saying, or it could be like actions, or it could be character qualities that you pick up on them.
Yeah. Everything is shaping who you are spiritually.
Yeah.
For Christians, and I think for everyone else, the question is really, what kind of person do you want to be formed into? I mean, this is a question about the kind of life you want to have and who you are. And so for Christians, we believe that there is no good formation apart from being formed into being like Jesus Christ. And that is a life that is marked by what we in Christianity call the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Kara, bonus points if you can name all of them.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, which some people call forbearance.
Yeah, we'll call it self-control.
I like self-control.
Forbearance is...
Yeah.
What is that?
Growing up in church, there was a song that the fruit of the Spirit's not a... And then you would enter in some fruit because
Kiwi.
the fruit, and you'd be like, a banana. And you would jump and flail your body to make a banana, or the fruit
never
of the
did
Spirit.
that.
Oh yeah, it's Vacation Bible School 101. I don't know.
Okay.
At my Meemaw's church, we learned that, and at my church growing up, we'd.
Maybe that is the only... Maybe you only sing that song in a Mima's church, and I don't have a Mima.
Oh, fruit of the Spirit's not a coconut.
Okay.
Anyways.
The more you know.
Yeah.
But in Christianity, a life marked by being formed into the pattern of Jesus Christ is a life marked by those things. It's marked by love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. Those are all good things. And I think most of us out here would say yeah, I want a life full of love. I want a life full of joy.
Yes,
Self-control isn't necessarily as
Sign me up.
woo woo.
Yeah.
But
the last one.
Man, I would love to be in control of myself all the time.
Yeah. We talked about love being out of order. And I think having self-control is the awareness, or the thought process to be oh, wait, let me reorder that. Okay, cool. And then before you act. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we as Christians want that kind of life. And I think we're all in this process of journeying into what that kind of life is. So the question is, how do you get formed and to be that kind of person? How do you shape and train your soul
example, like when you are a runner or you have a race that you're trying to run, you know
Tracking with you.
Yeah. You know the finish line, but like what things are you going to do to make sure you get there?
Right.
And for me, it's a really corny example. My youth pastor growing up was like, what do you want your tombstone to read? Or like, what do you want your obituary to say? Okay, you want them to say you're a kind person, or you want them to say that she, whatever. What life are you going to live to get that result? Like, how are you going to get that? Whether it's, well, I want straight hair today. Okay, great. What am I going to do to get that result? What am I going to, like, I want non-frizzy, wavy hair. I've got to do the steps and girls.
Curly girl.
Yeah, curly girl. I'm a lazy curly girl method. Anyways.
Preach.
I think there are things that, well, I want clean clothes to wear. Okay, I need to put a load in the washer and take the load that's been sitting in my dryer for way too long out and move the so when going back to what you were saying about how do we maintain our soul, how do we live a life, what are you going to say about that?
I mean, again, I think you're hitting at it like this won't happen by accident. So like if you want to be a kind, loving, generous, good, self-controlled person, like it's not just going to happen. Like I'm not going to wake up and just, oh man, I'm self-controlled today. How did I get here?
The same way, the silly example of like, I'm going to wake up and run a marathon today. Okay. We often joke because Luke runs every morning.
Not every morning.
Okay. Don't say, he told me this in the last bit. Don't sell yourself short. Like,
I'm just being accurate.
You run. I do not. And I admire that because it's something that you have to choose to wake up. You do. And so I cannot just wake up tomorrow and run a marathon the same way I cannot just wake up tomorrow and I'm this super patient person. But there are moments that you go through the same way that you wake up and you start lifting the 5 pound and then you lift the 10 pound and then you lift or you walk, run, and then you're slowly running more and more. There are situations that you go through in life where you can practice your patience. You can think, again, self-control, like stop and think, okay, what about this? What does this say about me? What type of action does this represent? Okay, I want to do this. And then those habits become easier and easier, or those actions become easier and easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as Christians, we believe that this Christ-like life doesn't just happen by accident, but we also don't think it happens just solely out of the strength of our own willpower, because we believe that in order to have a life marked by what we call the fruit of the Spirit, you actually have to live this life that's rooted in Jesus and who he is, and a life that's actually empowered by the Spirit of Jesus living inside of us.
Yeah.
And so in the Gospel of John, which we've been working through, it's the 4th book in the New Testament. You can just Google John, and then I'm in chapter 15. So if you just type in John 15, you're going to get there. I'm going to read a couple of verses from John 15. Jesus is talking, and he says, I am the true vine, and we'll unpack what that means, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine. Again, this is Jesus talking. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. So in order to bear this kind of fruitful life, Jesus is using this image of a fruiting vine, so grapes most likely. A branch off of a grapevine is not going to grow grapes if it's been cut off.
Yeah.
It has no source of life on its own. It's just a branch off of a vine. If you cut it off, it's dead.
Yeah.
So to bear fruit, it has to remain connected to the vine. So if you want to live this kind of fruitful life, marked by this fruit of the Spirit, you have to have a life connected to Jesus. And Jesus welcomes you into that life and wants you to be a part of that life and wants you to be empowered by him to live as a Christ-like person in this world. So it starts there. It starts with a life rooted in Jesus, and we would be thrilled to have a conversation with you about how you go about starting that, if that's something you've never had.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's about choosing to continue to engage with Jesus in your life. So reading scripture. So I would highly recommend if you read along in the book of John with us, just read a chapter a day. It's a great place to start. So engage scripture, engage the Bible.
I love that. I think, well, I'm ADHD, and so my brain is like all over the place. But learning, I feel like I'm a very hands-on, I'm a very like visual learner. And so for me, the imagery that the Bible uses about the vine, the branch, there's another passage where it talks about the different type of soils that you can be rooted in. You can't just have this beautiful 100-year-old oak tree that's like, here it is, like I got it. The roots run deep. It has had years of soil, of rain, of sunshine, of, there are the Texas weather that we just had, the snow days, the those moments that come that you might lose a branch, or lightning might strike, or different things that happen, those tough moments in life that come your way that prune you. But when you ultimately look to God and you look for your fulfillment in Him, that is what allows you to then flourish and then grow, even in the midst of difficult times or in the midst of a very tough situation. We can put our trust, put our hope, keep our eyes on Him, and it allows us to continue to grow because He is our main source. He is our direction. He's our compass. He's the charger for my cell phone. He's the silly, super silly, cringy things that you could think of when we live a life that is, you talked about abiding in Him, that verse, we will produce fruit. We will produce good things. I can't just do that on my own. I don't just wake up, as we talked about, and be this super patient, loving, kind person. Like, I have this alter ego that I sometimes reference called Petty Kara, because I can be petty, like very petty. And I have very critical self-talk. The way I talk to myself, I would never talk to my friends or family that way. And those are things that I'm continually working on because that's not the way God views me. The way I view myself sometimes is so critical and so negative, but I know at the end of the day, like the period, the end of the sentence, I know whose I am. I know who made me, and I know His intention behind making me. There's a verse in Psalm 139, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. His works, talking about God, His creation, His works are wonderful, and I know that full well. And I've struggled with that verse because just growing through like insecurities, being a teenager, not like all of those very difficult moments that no one wants to relive. This was a verse that I very dearly clung to because on my darkest moments, in the saddest moments, I could think of this and say, your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And sometimes it takes, do you know it? Is it just head knowledge? Or do you really know it? Like, do you know that sunsets are beautiful? Or have you sat and watched the sun and seen the purples and the blues and the hues and the pinks of the sky that are just amazing that you can experience? So that's something that we want to invite you guys into, to truly experience that and not just know, but to truly know, to truly feel that, to live a life, to abide in Christ, so that you can flourish, so that you can produce good fruit. And it's, some of that is like, well, where do I start? How do I even know? Stick with us, hang out with us, continue the conversation.
And we'll be back next week.
Yeah, message us any questions that you have. Feel free. We hope that you would like and subscribe to this video. But
yeah, thanks for watching.
Yes.